This is Chattanooga Civics. I'm Nathan Bird. I'd like to thank my Patreon sponsors for supporting the show, especially the Marks family and Stephen Culp. If you're enjoying the podcast or Instagram feed, please consider supporting me at patreon.com/chatcivics.
Hi, I'm Gail Loveland-Burrell, and I'm the director with Outdoor Chattanooga. So happy to be here.
Thank you for sitting down with me. I'd like to start real broadly and just have you explain what Outdoor Chattanooga is and how it fits into the Parks and Outdoors Department.
Well, I'd love to. We recently went through a new visioning and mission process, but folks should know we've been around for 20 years. Sometimes in Parks and Recreation, sometimes in economic development. All of it makes sense. It just flows depends on where we're headed as a community. We are now with Parks and Outdoors, and we're really excited that second area is Parks and Outdoors because that speaks to us. And through that vision and missioning work we've been doing, our new vision is that the outdoors is a welcome home for all Chattanoogans and visitors. We know that not everyone has felt welcome in our outdoor spaces, and we're really trying to spend our time and energy to make sure that anyone who comes here to Chattanooga has the opportunity to experience the physical, mental health, social opportunities that come with being out, just simply being outside. And our mission, and I love this part, is to spark a contagious love of the outdoors through adventure and action sports, nature exploration, and community partnerships. So we're not just looking for you to come out once. We want you to be so excited, whether it was bombing down a mountain on a mountain bike or simply, as we talked about earlier, going for a walk, laying in a hammock, but enjoy it so much, feel a connection that you want to tell more people about it.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear more about how you do that. And I just want to start with you explaining just what are kind of the regular programs that you guys have, a continuing basis. What are your bread and butter programs? We broke it down to 4 series to kind of help people understand. So our first is Learn To, and that is where we essentially just teach you the very basics of an activity or sport or nature exploration. We're going to provide all the equipment that you need and the instruction. So we have Learn to Ride a Bike, which is very, very popular. Learn to kayak, learn to whitewater through our rapid learning program. We even had Learn to Hike sometimes. So that's our Learn To series. Our Explorer series is most often connected to one of our partners, and some of those partners being the National Park Service, Lookout Mountain Conservancy, Audubon. We don't always just stay within the city limits of Chattanooga, but we're really trying to share all of the areas that our community can utilize and get outside. And so we combine the expertise that those groups bring from a historical perspective, biodiversity, nature, education, with our programming. So we might do birding by bike, kayak with the National Park Service. That is our Explorer series. Those tend to be very popular, and sometimes there's a cost associated with them. Our next series is our Meetup series, and that speaks to some affinity programming that we do. We have specific programs for veterans. We have our Silver Adventures program for those of us that might have a little gray in our hair. We have a Toddler Treks program for families with toddlers. We also have meetups where we just invite our partners. Our most recent one was a paddle meetup. We have it out in the community, usually with a pub sponsor, and we bring all those partners that are involved in the paddling community. So if you're new to Chattanooga, or if you've been here a while and you want to try something you're not sure who to connect with, you can come out to those and just learn more about the partners in that space. And then the last one that we have is the Elevate series. And that is really, how do we elevate our outdoor ecosystem, being very broad, not specific to biodiversity, but everything in the ecosystem of our outdoors, which includes our outdoor economy. We've been doing some work there, holding conferences here, being speakers at other events, internships, and also acting as an advocate within our Parks and Outdoors department and the city overall as to how do we involve outdoor recreation in a variety of different places to make sure everyone has access to it. That's awesome. And I want to dive into kind of each of those in a little bit more detail in a little bit. But first, I want to ask if you guys have any special summer programs coming up that you want to highlight.
Yeah, we have a ton of great summer programs right now going on. We've got Soul Roll, which some most folks might not think of us as the skateboard and skate community, roller skate or quad skate community, but that is programs that we support. So that's happening at our skate parks every Sunday through the month of June. We have a variety of programs that get you on the water in our Explorer series, but also every Wednesday our Rapid Learning series at Chester Frost will get you interested in understanding mostly whitewater, but we also have opportunities for just general kayak instruction there. I could go through all the other stuff we've got going on, but I think what I'd focus on is also for folks to plan towards the end of the summer, we've got a cool event called the Chat Town Cool Down, which is our main event. We have both traditional recreation opportunities, ball sports, and others. We work as a whole department and partner with our arts and creative economy group, our recreation group. We have a foam slide. We had plein air painting. We have kayaking. We have an awesome program with one of our partners, H2O Life, called Black Women Paddle. So August 23rd, 24th, just mark it on your calendars. Come. There is, I promise, something for everyone. It's the cool down because almost everything we have involves some way to get you cooler through water in some aspect. We even had a really fun thing last year that we're hoping to bring back with the Fireboat Splash, where the fireboat showed how they used their apparatus and splashed all the kids. It was really awesome.
That sounds awesome. And that's a fairly new event, right? This is the second or third year?
Yes, it is the second year as the Cool Down. It started as Paddle Fest, and then we took that this year. We're actually calling it Paddle Parade to make it more fun. You can dress up. People in Chattanooga love to dress up. So it's kind of morphed over and gotten bigger over time. It just feels like a really great way to sort of celebrate the end of summer before we go into the fall.
Yeah. So I want to zoom out and ask a really big question. Why is outdoor programming important enough to merit its own division of government, its own kind of little office that is just dedicated to promoting the outdoors?
Yeah, we're so grateful of the vision that Senator Corker brought so many years ago to this idea of having an outdoor division of his administration and his team. And do you know that it has proven, not just for Chattanooga, but at a statewide level, I was able to be involved with the first Office of Outdoor Recreation in the state of Utah. We are now, I think, up to 14 different states with offices of outdoor recreation, and I know there's a really strong conversation in Tennessee. So why does it make sense for government to support this? I think one, as I started off, just simply, we want to make our community healthier. We know that that's really important. And simply getting outside, sitting on your porch has some benefits for your health. If we can also get you moving and active out there, that's even more. We also know that we care about open spaces and biodiversity. Most of us have a great care for different animals, and we want to get people out there connected to nature. So that's a big goal that we have in our strategic plan, connecting people and nature and access to the outdoors. And then the last one is just smart business, too. And a thriving outdoor economy helps put dollars back into those goals of protecting lands, of getting more people outside, and that's another focus that we've been trying to support. So it hits all the fronts and makes a ton of sense, and that's why you're seeing not just here in Chattanooga, and our mayor likes to say we were first and then everyone else copied, but at a national and a statewide level, that interest. And one of the things I'm real proud to share, because we've recently, when I came in, I was really wanting to understand kind of what does our outdoor economy look like here? How can we compare it to other things that our community is investing in and seeing results from? And we have got the initial numbers through UTC and Dr. Bailey. And so nationally, you may have seen there was great news not too long ago, early this year, that outdoor recreation as an industry was about 2.2% of the national GDP. Well, we know Tennessee, you can look at it statewide there. Tennessee's about 2.4% of the state GDP, and for Hamilton County, we're about 2.5%. So we're above that national and state level, and that translates to about $880 million and over 7,600 jobs. I think that's really powerful and something we should continue to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to spend some more time on this because I think, the conservation element and kind of the community building element, those are things that are self-evident to some people is like why we should be spending taxpayer funds on those things. And it just kind of writes its own reasons. But for people who are a little bit more skeptical about that kind of public spending, I think this outdoor economy and these health benefits are a really great metric to present, to say, hey, we're not just spending money for the sake of spending money. There are tangible benefits that come with these kinds of programs. So 880 million, do I have that right? Mm-hmm. And how many jobs? 7,600?
Over 7,600,
wow. Yeah. And do you know much about how those numbers are kind of determined? How do we pull out exactly what's a result of the outdoor economy versus something else?
I don't think I can get real clean on giving that answer. You can. It was through the Bureau of Economic Analysis that the national and state numbers came, and then Dr. Bailey can't wait till he talks more to our community about how he took those numbers and pulled them into Hamilton County. But it has taken a while, although not as long as I thought, which is amazing, to be able to make sure we had numbers we felt good about.
That's awesome. I might have to do a follow-up interview with him.
Yes,
I'm sure we could probably pull apart at least an hour of just diving into the numbers for the people who are really interested.
As you talked about health benefits and other things, I also want to point out that outdoor recreation has a lot of more individualized sport. And I think that's important to talk about too. We focus a lot on getting our kids active, and we know that that's really important for their own physical health and for what their trajectory looks like from a health standpoint in the long run. Many areas, and specifically in the Southeast, and I was in the Northeast, I was a team sport athlete. That's what was available to me. But we know individual sports may really fit some different personalities and kids in other ways. And we also know that a lot of those individual sports are things that they will carry their entire life. So you learn to bike and you can bike into your 80s. And so I think that's really important to kind of look at that perspective. All of it is helpful, and man, am I so grateful for the leadership and the skills and the health I got out of team sports. But I'm also grateful to be in a position with Outdoor Chattanooga that if that isn't exactly the fit for you as a young person, we have an option for you.
No, that's definitely true. It's something I've experienced myself, getting into climbing in college and still climbing, a decade later, in a way that you can't really do with something like football. It's harder to do with something like soccer or basketball. It's possible, but you have to schedule around people and figure it all out. But something where it's swimming, hiking, trail running, you can just go out and do it, especially here in Chattanooga where we have just so many opportunities for that.
Yes.
So Chattanooga is nationally known as an outdoor hub. And we talked about this, you mentioned at the beginning. A lot of people, sometimes whole communities, have had limited experiences and often limited access to the outdoors. So what are the challenges and benefits of bringing programming to these communities, and what programs have you seen be the most successful?
Yeah, I think we're all still learning as Outdoor Chattanooga and as a greater outdoor community. What we have found to be most successful is to make sure that those programs, especially reaching those communities, are led by people from that community, and that we provide the resources and the space and the support to help see those programs flourish. So for us in particular, some of the programs that we have done most recently in this last year, Black Women Paddle with Shawana Kendrick, we provide a lot of the resources, and I think there's and then she provides the expertise and gets it to her community and makes sure that her community is excited. It is open to Black women and all allies. I think a great example that has really stuck with me is as we planned that paddle, it was planned from one side of the river to the other. And a lot of folks in the outdoor community said, that's not fair. That's not enough. That's not that long of a paddle. And we really stuck with Shawana, who said, for my community, for a community of many of these women had not been on the Tennessee, they'd grown up in this area, not been on the Tennessee River once. That paddle from one side to the other was significant. Mm-hmm. And we have other ways, and the paddle parade the next day is a way for folks to take a longer paddle, but we're going to stick with that same model again because of what it meant to that community, because of Shawana's leadership. And I was there on the other side as Poop came, and people had full-on families there, brought to welcome the women in their lives to have made that accomplishment. I think that's a really important example of some of the work that we have stepped back and let others lead and learn from that process. We have a long-term team member named Anthony Beasley, and he came to us last year. He's also a teacher, so he works with us part-time and works in the school district full-time, and he wanted to do something he named Outdoor Leadership Club once a week. It's at Orchard Knob, and he just went through these different skills, and we took a look at that and got excited and went and worked with some of our local partners, including Lyndhurst Foundation and Tennessee State Conservancy, the Friends Group for the state parks, and our program, and went to Anthony and said, what could we do what would more look like? So we've launched a program with the state parks. In part, we've always been, and for many years, been bringing people from different communities to our state parks. And Anthony's feedback to us was, it's great, but it's like a field trip. There's not enough time there to really make a connection. We're not building over time. And so with this program once a week after school, we do 2 different groups. So a fall and a spring, and then we've added some weeks of camp. Next year we'll add Calvin Donaldson as well and do the same thing. And it's very intentional to develop a community around it who's supported. We also work with actually H2O Life again in this situation where there's support to families, because there is recognition of the multi-generational impact that might happen where I am a mama, I might be nervous about that, and so how can we help everyone feel more comfortable? Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome to see, and so I think those are 2 examples. We also, I have worked for most of my career in adaptive recreation, so working with people with disabilities. We have a fantastic therapeutic recreation program as part of our Parks and Outdoors department that does typical recreation and also outdoor programming. And then I would say our part of Outdoor Chattanooga is supporting them, which we do, but also saying, okay, if someone with a disability comes to our community, how can they access trails? What information is out there? How are we making sure, as in that elevate goal, how are we being the advocate to make sure that there's access to the outdoors for everyone? When we build a new dock, have we thought about the accessibility needs of that dock so that someone independently in a wheelchair can bring a kayak onto that dock and be able to get in themselves successfully and go paddle by themselves? That's a huge part of accessibility and access. So.
2 things that come to mind, kind of barriers to access. I was hoping you could address, one being transportation and another being equipment. And I guess let's flip those and talk about equipment first, because I feel like it's the one that Outdoor Chattanooga is probably most able to address directly. What kind of equipment do y'all provide during these programs? I'm sure it varies from program to program, yes. But in general. And then do y'all provide any equipment on like a rental basis or anything like that?
Yeah.
If somebody wants to go out on their own, they just took this great class and they feel excited and they want to go out, but the next Outdoor Chattanooga event's not for another couple of weeks. And so they're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to go get a kayak and just go out on my own.
Well, first, I'm so excited because you brought up another program that I've heard to talk about, which is our Adventure Library program. So went to the library, said, you have this whole inventory system. We want to make sure more folks can get outside and have access to the equipment they need. And they said, let's do it. So we launched that this spring, which is fantastic. So you can use your library card in Chattanooga to check out outdoor equipment. there are limitations. We don't have kayaks in there or bikes in there, but for basic hiking poles, backpacks, camping equipment, you can check all of that out with your library card for free. I think that's incredible, and that is step one that we're doing together. We'll evaluate again in the fall and talk about what else we need to add. When you do programs with us, whether it's the Explorer series or Learn To, we will have equipment. If you have equipment for some of our programs, you like our Learn to Ride a Bike, you want to learn on your bike, we get it, bring your bike. We'll just make sure it meets the safety standards, but we will always make sure that there is equipment available and ready for folks to access. Our types of equipment vary. They mostly align with the activities that you would find on our website, outdoorchattanooga.com, and that would show kind of we have equipment for all of those different activities, unless it's a program we don't offer. So we feature that there's hang gliding in our area on our website. It is not you cannot learn to hang glide with us. That was beyond where we were able to support, but we can certainly direct you to other folks that can help.
Right. And then that second barrier, transportation, that's obviously, a little bit, that's another part of the government that really kind of handles that, whether it be CDOT or CARTA or some combination. But what does that look like for Outdoor Chattanooga, making sure that people can get from where they live to the river or the trailhead or the climbing wall?
It's not easy at the moment, and I think that there's a lot more work to do, especially when we talk about getting to trailheads. It is on our strategic plan, which you can find on our website, so it is a goal we have to continue to dig into. Right now, what we most often do is act as a partner and advocate with the Regional Planning Association and CDOT and others. We were big supporters and kind of ran the Bike to Work Day, trying to make sure folks know that we're here to help them activate those spaces and also advocate for more of them, be them bike lanes, be them the Chattanooga bikes that are available around town. We were a part of getting that started. Outdoor Chattanooga has done a ton of that, and it probably doesn't recognize in our community, but we've done a ton of get it going and then let it go and be its own thing within other parts of city government or other parts of the community.
Awesome. So I want to talk about, this ties into the Explorer program, and also, you talked about some partners that y'all have. So Chattanooga has a lot of well-established outdoor advocacy groups, be it the Southeastern Climbers Coalition, the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, the Tennessee Trails Association, Reflection Riding, Lookout Mountain Conservancy. I mean, I could go on all day.
Yes.
So there are so many of these groups. What opportunities are there for partnerships and mutual support between these groups and Outdoor Chattanooga, and what do those partnerships look like? I mean, does it ever feel like you're stepping on anybody's toes, or is it always collaborative?
Great question. For one, to go back to our mission, we very intentionally put in that we were going to do our work, spark the contagious love of the outdoors through adventure and action sports, nature exploration, and community partnerships. That's on an equal level. So just to start there, they are critical to the work that we do. There are always opportunities for us to partner. Sometimes we're partnering on working on some creative programming, even trying to bring them in as partners with some of our existing city teams on infrastructure projects that we might be working on. We're working right now on some bicycle skill areas in town, and super excited about that. Takes a while, but just a little hint that is getting worked on. And we also bring them in we have a workshop series in the winter and fall where we just do teaching out of our offices here at Coolidge Park. And they are often those folks, those experts that are providing that information. And we talked about the outdoor economy. So we're not just talking about nonprofits out there, but for-profits too, who act as tremendous partners to us. Often they are caring about the same things we're caring about, and we're just trying to figure it out. You did ask, do we step on each other's toes? I think that might happen a little bit, but in general, our community and I have found this different than I've lived all over Pacific Northwest, Rocky Mountains, the Northeast, and in Chattanooga, I just think there's a tremendous energy to want to work together to help better our community. And it's really refreshing, and I don't find that there's, the turf issues. It's just more of like, hey, that sounds awesome. You're doing that. That's great. Could I learn from it? How can we support it? How can we expand? I think the only problem that we are all facing right now is that idea of the continued growth. Are we planning far enough ahead? Are we ready for the influx of folks that want to use our trails? Our blueways, we're very excited to continue to activate them. We're partner in the Tennessee River Line project, which is a project out of UT Knoxville that is connecting the 652 miles of the Tennessee River to be one of the, if not the longest paddle in the United States. It's super exciting stuff. And with that comes user conflicts. How are we all using these different spaces? I think that becomes more of the critical conversations we have. Not are we stepping on your turf, but how do we figure this all out together? Because there's a lot of people coming in excited for this, and we need to work together to get some solutions.
Awesome. Well, those are the more detailed questions that I have, but we've got some time left if you want to discuss any other upcoming programs or kind of long-term initiatives that y'all are thinking about, or if you just want to talk about your space here. I mean, we were talking before the interview started. I had never been to the space in Coolidge Park, even though I've been to Coolidge Park more times than I can count.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that space.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about our space, and then also challenge your listeners to get out there to all these other spaces. Our space here at Coolidge Park, it's right kind of underneath the walking bridge, so folks know where it is. It has been here for a long time, but not really obvious what that space was for, or I think even resourced enough for people to utilize it as much as possible. So we've really embraced that. We have somebody there, including volunteers, so we'll take more volunteers for our programs all the time, who help just at the front desk answer questions about how to get outside. Sometimes we get just general visitor questions, what's a great restaurant? We'll answer those too. But we have the space set up for folks who are local or not local to come in and ask those questions. We also tend to be a really great spot for you to take a break when you're in Coolidge, whether it's raining or it's too hot. Or you want to just get some additional resources you can take outside. We have blankets to lend to our community. We have a great lending library. We have a rock climbing wall. The number of families that come in and take a little bit of break and sit down and watch their kids on a rock climbing wall. I really appreciate that as a parent myself, and so it's great to see that space can serve that need. So we can answer questions. It's also the headquarters for the Department of Parks and Outdoors, so if you want to connect with other folks in Department of Parks and Outdoors, you'd probably find them there as well. We have a meeting space that some of our partners can use, which has been great. Like the Tennessee Valley Canoe Club has meetings there. Grotto, if you don't know that, they're an amazing caving organization that has regular meetings at Outdoor Chattanooga where you can get more connected to the caving community. So we really invite folks to come out, and we actually have just added a little bit of co-working space in there, which is pretty fun too. So we've got public spaces, we want people to utilize them, and we want to spark that collaboration there. So then I think you get into Outdoor Chattanooga, you find out more of the places maybe you haven't been, and that has been amazing to me as I continue to talk, I think, because I'm in the job I am, and I care so much for all of our partners. I think everyone should go to all of them. But there are so many great places. We also have a barn out at Greenway Farms. So if I know many folks in our community haven't gotten out there. There's just great programming out there. And we have a really fun one in the fall called Notes in Nature, where you can walk around and hear musicians as you walk through the park. Lots of great programming that happens on the North Chickamauga Greenway there, and other opportunities. We're at the South Chick too. Enterprise South is a great place if you haven't been out there. We work with the county on that space. And our state parks, we got some amazing state parks and new state parks coming online or have already been online. We're still working on, continuing to figure out access points, but they are beautiful spaces just out at Booker T. The history there and the care that the rangers have for that space. I invite everyone to get out there to Booker T. That is just a small sampling of the ones I'd love to tell you all about, but Come to Outdoor Chattanooga, ask us some questions. We'll help connect you to the outdoors, and we will help spark a contagious love for you so that you can share with others.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Chattanooga Civics. Our music was written and recorded by Kevin MacLeod. Find more civic resources at ChattanoogaCivics.com. Chattanooga Civics is a member of the Podnooga Network. To find more great podcasts from local creators, find Podnooga on Facebook and Instagram or on the web at podnooganetwork.com. Thanks for listening.